How'd you first get into music?
I started when I was like 15, I guess, like maybe late 14, early 15. I used to play hockey and like I was doing that kind of like competitively. And I was getting to the point where it was starting to take up a lot of my social time. Like, and it's that age where everyone's starting to like be social, party, do all that kind of stuff. And I realized that like I was having games Fridays and like game Saturdays and practices Sundays, and like all my friends were starting to go to parties and house parties and do that. And shows started becoming a thing. Um, and I think I was in grade eight. Like I always kind of listened to like alternative stuff and like heavier stuff, but it was grade eight for me when I heard Choking Victim on Give 'Em the Boot. And I was just like, because I'd already heard Rancid, and I was like, this is cool. This is like, I like this, but it was Choking Victim for me. I heard that, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is this? Because it was just so different, man. It's like, it was just, it almost had, like, on that first album, it almost had that, like, hip hop element to it. You know what I mean? Which kind of like, not that they were rapping, but it just had that feeling. And that really spoke to me because I listened to hip hop too. And so I got into that. I met a buddy. He was playing drums at the time. I was just learning how to play guitar. And he's like, man, like Choking Victims the shit. Like, what about Leftover Crack? And then he showed me Leftover Crack, and I was like, holy fuck, okay. Like, despite hindsight and whatever, like Stiz is obviously we won't get into that, but back then it was still the shit, you know what I mean? So we just used to do Leftover Crack covers and like Choking Victim covers. We used to do like One Dead Cop and 500 Channels, and there's a couple other ones. I don't remember though. It's such a long time ago. But yeah, so we did that for a little bit, and he then introduced me to who's pretty much one of my brothers now. His name's Zach. Zach, Franco, and Andy, they were in a band called From Parts Unknown, and they'd been doing it for like a year or so. And we were just so happened that we were going to meet them at a show downtown in Toronto. There used to be a venue called the Big Bop, and that was like the punk rock sanctuary where everyone went. It was really, really cool, all ages, so everyone could kind of hang out. So us being 14, 15, we could actually go there and chill, you know what I mean? So I went there, met them. Prior to that, I was at my house with this guy who's on drums. His name's Brandon, and he showed me some of their MP3s and like just like not the best recordings, but still that kind of style. And I was like, oh shit! So people our age are doing this. That's fucking sick. I need to meet these guys. He's like, well, this guy's coming to the show. We'll go pre-drink at his house. So like, sick. All right. So I meet him, meet the rest of the band. I'm fucking typical, young 15-year-old. I got a little sauced up that night. So and the adrenaline was flowing. So I was a little like, hyper and just like bouncing around, like, yeah, guys, blah, blah. And it turned out they were looking for another guitar player. So it just worked out that we all kind of got along. And I think like maybe that week they messaged me and they're like, hey, do you want to try out for the band? I was like, fuck yeah. I barely knew how to play guitar, like at all, like barely. I was just scraping to get by. And the other guitar player sent me like guitar tabs. And so I printed those out. I remember my first band practice, I showed up with like all the tabs. I'm sitting on the couch trying to figure this out. And like I hadn't really played ska too much yet. But I was just so fucking determined to do that I think I learned ska in like a couple weeks or something, just sitting there every day, just playing. So that was kind of like the start of it. Nope, like there was nobody in my family that played instruments, or like my family likes music, but not to that extent. There was just a calling. I don't know what it was, man. It was just something was calling for me to do that. And yeah, it's been fucking dope ever since ever since, man. It feels like such a lifetime ago that that was a thing. Yeah.
So that would have been way back in the day. Were you on that first that No Equal split that was released in 2007? Was this around that time frame or
Yeah, we started demoing out some stuff. Like they had done some demos prior to me joining the band, and then when I joined the band, we recorded some more stuff, some more demos, and I think that stuff ended up on the No Equal split, and that was really dope. No Equal was basically like our brother band, so we played a lot of shows together and like helped each other out. They were our boys, so and they're a dope band. They were really really good, very unique, but
yeah,
they were
and that
sick, really really
that
cool.
that fucking split's awesome too.
I love it, man. Like those No Equal songs for me are just timeless. I can go back and listen to that shit all the fucking time. They're just so good. So fucking good.
Word, word. Tell me about Smoke Rocks.
So Smoke Rocks was our debut EP, and by that time we'd been playing for geez, a couple years, and we compiled like a decent amount of songs, but those were like the 6 songs. I think it was 6 songs. I think it was 6 songs. I don't even remember it
Pretty sure it was
anymore,
six
man.
songs.
We picked those, and at that time we'd been playing a lot of local shows. So we made friends with a band called Corporation. So Ian Wilkinson was in that band, and he was recording. He went to, I don't know if it was Humber, but he went to school for audio. So he was recording his own stuff and Corporation stuff. So we hit him up and we're like, "Hey man, we got an EP. Like, would you be down to record this?" And he was like, "Fuck yeah!" So he came down, recorded that. It was a fucking really cool experience. It was our first time like feeling like we were recording like for real, even though it wasn't in the studio. It was very DIY, but it was like, oh shit, like we're doing this. You know what I mean? At like 17. Um, so yeah, and then we did that. We released it. I think it took a little while for us to release. Um, 'Cause we were all young. There weren't really a lot of funds there or anything. So to like print the album, I think we did it like super DIY where we were like cutting it out. And we cut out a few before we had a CD release show. Um, and we thought we had enough, but we didn't. So when we when we got there, people would buy a CD, and we'd run in the back and like make it. We had like a CD press in the back, and we would press them right there and be like, "Here you go. Here's a fucking album." Like it was, you can't get any more DIY than that. It was crazy. And funny enough, actually, we broke up on our we broke up on our CD release night. So that was it. It was like, you guys get this album, we're done. We're all still friends, and it's all water under the fridge. But yeah, no, that was a funny night. It was an interesting night for sure. But yeah, not many bands can say they broke up on their their CD release. You know what I mean? But I'm super proud of that album, like for it being like kind of like the first album at 17 to like really put out there. Um, it's I like it. It still holds up for me. You know what I mean?
Word.
W-double-O-T to the G-O-double-E-N-W-double-O-D L-O-G-A-N, you know what I mean, you know what I mean, you know what I mean. O-A-K-W-double-O-T to the G-O-double-E-N-W-double-O-D L-O-G-A-N, you know what I mean, you know what I mean, you know what I mean.
So, and at that time, me and Andy, who's the drummer of From Parts Unknown, we had already been kind of starting Ghetto Blaster in a sense on the side, with Neil from No Equal. He was the bass player from No Equal. I was the guitar player from FPU, and we thought it would be cool, kind of what you were saying, where they threw you on bass. We switched for Ghetto Blaster. So the first Ghetto Blaster album was the first time I ever did a full album on bass. I did a little bit of bass in From Parts Unknown, but yeah, we did a little switcheroo, a little Red Rover.
Hold on a second. Look, my notes are kind of scattered. My notes are kind of
Oh,
scattered.
no worries,
2008,
man.
Smoke Rocks came out. The first Ghetto Blaster album, self-titled EP, came out in 2009. That was fucking phenomenal. And you
Thank
said it
you,
was
man.
Neil from No Equal on there?
Yeah, so the original lineup for that was myself, Andy. We were both coming from Parts Unknown, and then Neil from No Equal. And me and Andy did some other stuff prior that we were trying to figure out beforehand. That was on MySpace. It's not there anymore. But really, really kind of trippy stuff going in that direction. But once we had the three of us, that's when it really clicked. It was like the trifecta. Um, and yeah, we just started writing. We just would hang out all the time and write, and it was like a unit. Nobody cared about like, oh, I'm gonna write lyrics, I have to sing them, or I'm gonna write this, so I want credit. It was just the three of us writing. So like sometimes our drummer like wrote the chorus to GBC. Like he wrote a lot of fucking lyrics back in the day, and sang on the first album quite a bit too. So it was just that like brotherhood mentality, you know what I mean? Where it just everything clicked, and the writing was easy. Sorry, it was really easy for us to write together, and we were able to pump that out, and yeah, it was Ian again recorded that as well. Which, he did a lot of recordings for a lot of bands back then, but yeah, he killed it. That was a really fun experience to record that album.
Revolutionary ska, feel it in your veins. That powerful feeling, a feeling of change. Make you wanna stand and say, I walk no path, I make my own way. Revolutionary ska, feel it in your veins. That powerful feeling, a feeling of change. Make you wanna stand and say, I walk no path, I make my own way.
Yeah, it was a great EP. And you were you were multitasking at the time. You were also putting out shit under Illogic.
Yes. Yeah.
At the exact same time. Your first release was Revolutionary Ska, and Neil was on that, featured on 2 of those songs as well.
Yeah, Andy as well. Andy featured on 1 or 2 of those as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So it was like kind of songs that weren't quite they didn't end up going to Ghetto Blaster, but they were in that vein. But I was like, all right, I'll throw them on this and kind of do that. It was the stuff that I was doing that didn't quite fit Ghetto Blaster, but it was close. But it was also like we didn't have time to record for Ghetto Blaster at that time. So I was like, all right, I'll just kind of come over here and do my own little thing. And that was super fun too. Really, really fun. Yeah. I actually got the name Illogic from my American Distress album, American Distress song. A lot of people wonder where I got that name from, and it was that song.
Oh shit, fuck, here we go again. Same old shit, just a different trick. You fucking bitch, you baby sick. I'll let you like you piece of shit. You made me sick.
Then you did a 3-way split that was fucking phenomenal. You did a 3-way. Tell me about your 3-way, buddy.
Yeah, well, it's not what most people would think it would be, I guess. But yeah, no, at the time, I think that was just after Chris and I, Chris Hardcore, he does Big Brother. He used to be in bands called Charlotte Swallows and Crack Squad. Both dope bands, check them out. But I had started a radio show while I was doing everything. It was just like a podcast show. It wasn't live or anything. It was called Unknown Radio. And then I was doing that, and I wanted to branch out and create like kind of like a station. So I had other people under me, like JV Mongrel, the guy I did a split album with. He had his own show called Folk Explosion, and then Chris had his own show. But it didn't really work out. His co-host was just lived far away, and it was hard for him to get down and do it. So I was like, you know what, man, come be my co-host. We'll do a radio show together. And because we clicked, we were really good friends back then. And that kind of spawned us creating Unknown Records, because it was the 2 of us that started Unknown Records together. And that was a split that we did as a release for Unknown Records. The 3-way split. We called it the what was it, the Trinity or something? It's the 3 of us, just our 3 bands, like just we were such good friends and stuff. We're just like, fuck, we got to release something together. So it's like, all right, let's put out a 3-way split and see what happens. And yeah, it was cool. I think it was like free for download and stuff. We did print some, but they were very, very DIY, and we'd like kind of throw them out at shows as kind of like a promo for all the bands. I think it was like two songs each or something like that, if I remember correctly.
What you gonna do when I come for you? What you gonna do, motherfucker? What you gonna do when I come for you? What you gonna do, motherfucker? When I come for you, sneak into your fucking room. Better fear not to see it, don't you dare shed a tear. You can scream all you want, but I have just begun. If you could step in my mind, I'm sure you will be terrified.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that label you started, Unknown Records, because I went to the band camp, and oh my God, there's so many fucking great albums just up there, and they're all free to download.
Yeah. I can't even take full credit for that. That was Chris made a big push to do that. That was a lot of his idea. We were going to split into me focusing more on bands that we would kind of potentially put money into and release and stuff. And then even though we had both talked about doing the free section, he really made that his baby. And he just went around, started asking bands like, listen, man, the goal of it was having like a punk rock encyclopedia. You know what I mean? Like a place where you could go where any album you wanted to hear would be there. And just to get people into the music, you know what I mean? And then they can go check out the band afterwards and then buy their album and do all of that stuff. So It's fucking loaded, man. I was on there the other day just for shits, and it's been a very long time. And I was even just like, holy fuck, man.
Oh
He
yeah,
uh he did a phenomenal job with that. It's there's so much there. It's
so
crazy.
much good shit there. So much good
Oh,
shit.
it's wild. It's
Like the
wild.
like oh, I can't even begin to like oh man, we the heathens and uh oh, I did. I was going. There's so much there. I couldn't even like soak it all in. Like I
It's
was.
wild. It takes some time. It takes some time to
Yeah,
actually go through it all, man.
yeah.
But
Which
all of it's really sick.
which everyone needs to go check out because it's fucking phenomenal. Fucking
Very, very dope. Yeah.
phenomenal.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. No. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah.
Steal from the poor to give to the rich, you fucking bitch, you piece of shit. You make me fucking sick. You're the reason poverty exists, and you're the reason the minority is pissed. And I'm part of that minority of some. Not racial, no, there's no colors, we're all one. We're the ones who opened our eyes. We awoke, but we awoke to
Get
the
back
lies.
into that JV Mongrel release. I think we almost glossed over that. Right? You
Sure.
said he you did a split with him with Illogic
Yeah.
back in August of 2009.
Yeah, he was a really good friend of ours. He used to be in a band called the Mongrels, but he always did his like folk solo stuff. And at that time, we were hanging out a lot, drinking 40s and getting up to no good. But we were, he had a bunch of songs ready to go and no one to really record them. And that's when I just started getting into fiddling around with recording. I think I was using like a a pirated version of Cool Edit Pro, and I had the microphone I was using was from the game Rock Band. So it was like a USB mic. And then so I had it like taped to a guitar stand because I didn't have a mic stand. And then from the guitar stand, I had a drumstick that was then taped that had the top of a butter container that was cut out and pantyhose over as a pop filter. And that's how we recorded all that shit, all of that shit. It was very, very DIY.
Well, you
But it
could.
was cool. I
It turned out great. You can't hear the duct tape.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. But yeah, no, it was cool. I kind of adopted more of his style for that album. I wanted to kind of switch it up and not really do as much of the ska punky thing. So I was just kind of like, it was a cool premise too. I did 4 songs, she did 4 songs, and then we did like 4 songs together. So that was really cool and really, really fun. And that album actually means a lot to me. Because he's unfortunately no longer with us. So every once in a while I'll go back and check that out and just uh yeah, take a trip down memory lane. He was one of a kind guy. He was very, very unique fellow and just a awesome, awesome musician and a good friend.
Spurs and you know we got wings and he flew. Left with my soul, everything that you knew. I stand here alone and all of it's left. Now stand back and watch me destroy what is left.
Let's see here. And then in 2010, you did an interesting 2-song Ghetto Henchman.
Yeah. It never got released actually. It only got released, I think, during COVID. I talked to Chet and I was like, hey man, can I throw these up? And he's like, I forgot about that shit, man. Go for it. Because at the time I was pestering him like a motherfucker. I was like, dude, I want to get on a song. Like you featured on my album, I want to feature on yours. And he's like, I have these 2 instrumentals, you know what I mean? Like I'll send them to you and go to town and do whatever. And so I did. But it just I don't think anything ended up coming out of it. We all got busy, life got busy, and they just kind of sat on a hard drive somewhere. So when I was going through my hard drive during the pandemic, when I was starting the Logic Resurrections album, I found them and I was like, holy fuck, I forgot these existed. And so I hit him up and I'm like, do you mind if I just like release these and put them up? And he's like, dude, go for it. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, let's do it. So that's kind of how those got released. Just sitting on an old hard drive somewhere,
10 years too late.
Get up into the fight, let's come together and we'll unite with the best outside. Yo, where you gonna be with them all talking down these MCs? Get up into the fight, let's come together and we'll unite.
So let's get back into the Ghetto Blasters. Let's see. Think for yourself. Think for yourself, right? That was a great album. Fucking great
Thank you,
album.
man.
Right.
I appreciate
Several of
that.
the
Thank you.
songs from the self-titled made it over to it, but the quality is a lot more like sonically pleasing.
Yeah, yeah. And Ian recorded that again too. So at that time what happened was so between the first album and the second album, we had a little bit of a lineup switch where Neil was no longer with us. There was just a situation with the lifestyle is there's a lot of partying and a lot of drinking and a lot of drugs. I've been there. And at the time, it was just kind of affecting his day-to-day life. So we kind of parted ways with him. And at that time, Ian, who had been recording us and recorded, my first album with FPU, we hit him up and we're like, "Hey, man, would you want to be part of this?" And he's like, "I'm down, but I play bass, so like you're the bass player. What do you want to do?" Like, well, I'll switch to guitar. I was originally on guitar in the first place. I only switched to do bass on the first Ghetto Blaster album for fun. So he was like, "All right, yeah, let's do it." So then we started writing. Like I had a bunch of songs ready to go, and a couple of those songs we were writing with Neil. He has credits on the album for a verse in Day of Defeat and a verse, I believe it was in Think for Yourself. So some of the writing was starting while he was in, but after he left, that's when I really kind of went into overdrive on writing. But we also liked some of the old songs. So we are like, why don't we, we have a bit more time and a bit more, I guess, money going into it in terms of mastering and stuff. Let's try and take some of those old songs and see if we can up the ante on quality. So that's kind of how that came to be. It was like half old songs, half new songs, and we just kind of put it all together. But that album was fun. It took us a long time to release that album, unfortunately. I think we recorded it in 2009 or 2010, and I don't think it came out till 2011 or 2012 because we had such a hard time getting it printed. Um, but but yeah, it finally, I think we released it online first and just like had a streaming, and then eventually it finally got printed. But yeah, I'm really proud of that album. That was kind of like the, hey, we're here, like this is our sophomore album, like we're not going anywhere, like, and the subject matter started to change a bit too, right? Because the first album was a bunch of like, young kids, or young adults, I would say, that listen to a lot of like aggressive hip hop, and you can hear it on that album. It's basically just like, hey, we're Ghetto Blaster. Fuck you. If you fuck with us, we're gonna beat you up and take your booze. And if you want to have fun, come drink with us, come get high, have a good time. Like that kind of like crew gang mentality kind of thing. But as I got older, like that's not really what I stand for. So it started, the subject matter started changing into more kind of like social awareness and political awareness and things of that nature. But it was still supposed to be like a fun band, you know what I mean? Like songs like Unite and shit like that, kind of uppity, like, you know. Um, so yeah, it was a fun album to do. It was a really fun album to do and be part
Word.
of. I'm really, really happy to be part of it.
Twisted Mind. Let's get into that album.
Sure.
EP, that EP.
Yeah, yeah. That was kind of a rushed EP. And again, we had every album we had a different chain of like different people in the band, I should say. So for the first album, as I said, it was me, Neil, and Andy. Second album was me, Ian, and Andy. And then we had some gang vocals from friends. And then the last album was myself, Ian, our buddy Mikey was on bass, or not bass, sorry, on drums. And then we brought Chris in from Crack Squad and stuff. He came in on second guitar because we were finding at shows that it was just too much for me to try and do all the guitar and sing. So to take a little bit of the weight off me, he could be in, and he was a good friend, and it was fun to play with him. So yeah, what happened with I have to go back to Think for Yourself a little bit because that album, we had signed to an independent label called Title Track Records, and Corporation had been with them, and they said that it was fine, like a good experience. What happened with that was they they put out our album for pre-sale, and then we were going to use that money to print the album. Um, and then he pretty much fucked off. He deleted everything, fell off the face of the earth, and like stole $300-400 from us and just left. But right before he did that, we were talking with kind of Stomp Records at the time, and they were wanting to put that album out, and we had to tell them at the anniversary show, like, sorry, but we're under contract with this independent label, so we can't, but we can try to work on some new stuff for you. So we talked afterwards, and he was like, try to get something out soon, and then we can sit and we can talk. So that's kind of how that EP came to be, where it was like, it was very rushed. It was like, okay, we need to get something out to see if we can keep the ball moving forwards. I'm still super proud of those songs, but it's a weird time for me musically and stuff. But yeah, so that's how that came to be. So we just sat down, kind of pumped out these songs as quickly as we could. And then we went and recorded with our buddy Justin and his brother in it wasn't Ottawa, I think it's New Orleans next to Ottawa. So we went up there for like 3 days, and he had a home studio, and we just fucking pumped these songs out and tried to release it as quickly as we could. But by the time we released it, we had broken up. So it was kind of like all this like rushed thing for I wouldn't say it was for nothing, because I'm still, that album got released and people can check it out, but not for what we were trying to achieve with it, I guess you could say. But I like that album. It was a cool album. It was a little branching into a different sound a little bit from where we were, and I find every album's a little different, which is nice. I mean, I don't want to listen to the same album over and over again. I mean, that's all. If I want to listen to the same album over and over again, I will listen to that album like from different bands, you know what I mean? So it was nice to progress a bit, but that was basically the story of that in a nutshell.
So let's talk Panama Red. You were on that last EP, Have Another.
Yeah. So they'd been a band for a little while too, and they were good friends of ours in Ghetto Blaster. We used to play a lot of shows with those guys and just party like crazy with them. Really, really, really fun people to be with. So what happened, without getting into too much detail, is right after Ghetto Blaster broke up, they parted ways with their singer. So they were looking for a singer. And we had been on tour with them. Our last tour that we did actually in Ghetto Blaster was with Panama Red, and at the end was when we broke up. So they hit me up and they were like, hey man, like, do you want to come try out and do some vocals for this? I'm like, well, I'm not really like a singer, you know what I mean? And like their old singer he could sing. He was good at what he did. But they were like, yeah, man, just come try out and see how it goes. And I went and we did a couple songs, and it just the feeling felt right. It was fun to play with them, and yeah, so then I started doing that. We started playing shows, and then started recording that little EP with Zoltek, who was at the time the bass player for Ill Scarlet. So he was like producing them / recording, and that was really cool to be part of that process as well. It was just kind of seeing how things are done at like the next level, where it's still DIY but not as DIY. But yeah, so then they had a few songs already ready to go. I just kind of did the vocals. Like some lyrics were already there, and then other lyrics I came in and kind of like rewrote, so I kind of make it my own. And then I think I wrote 2 songs of my own for that EP as well. It was All Falls Down and Alone With You were the 2 songs that I brought to the table, and then the rest they had, and then I just kind of like redid some stuff. And yeah, it was really, really cool. Funny enough, we kind of did like a Red Rover, because at that time like Ghetto Blaster and them kind of did the thing at the same time. So I came over from Ghetto Blaster to do vocals for Panama Red, and the Panama Red singer went over to Big Brother and played guitar for them. So it was basically just like we switched members. Like they were under a different name with Big Brother, but we pretty much just did a switcheroo, which I thought was really fucking interesting. Like just that doesn't happen very often, I don't think. But that was cool. Yeah. And we actually played a show with them, like one of our first shows as me in the lineup. We played with them, and yeah. I only did about a year with Panama Red. I ended up parting ways with them, and the album again came out after we had broken up. So
Word.
Excuse me.
Word.
It's a cool album though, man. Really
You
good.
couldn't get enough, you couldn't get enough. Even though I appreciate my privacy more than you could ever understand. I took the meditations, guilty risks, sacrifices. One last dance to save the romance of all my memories.
Jaws the band. There was only 4 songs. You only released 4 songs.
Yeah, well, what ended up happening with that was so we had an album that we had recorded. It was at the same time that was being recorded by Droid. Andrew is his name. He's one of the guitar players for the Filthy Radicals. So he was recording both of us at the same time. He was doing the Jaws EP and he was doing the Filthy Rads album. And what ended up happening was like we were pretty much almost done. If I remember correctly, I think maybe there was some vocals that needed to be recorded. That was also a long time ago, so I don't really remember for sure. But someone broke into his car and stole his hard drive and stole all of his shit, and so everything was gone. Like it was just completely gone. So that kind of bummed us out. It really bummed out our singer, where he was basically we had to convince him to re-record. He was like, "No, fuck it. Like, I don't want to. It's not meant to be," and all this shit. And I'm like, "Nah, man. Like, just because you get knocked down doesn't mean you don't get back up and get back on the fucking horse. You know what I mean? Like we have to put out this album. Like it has to be put out now. Fuck that guy who stole this shit." So yeah, and then we got to recording it, and I don't think it ever came out. I mean, by that time I had moved on and the band kind of fizzled out, and I think they tried to like record and finish it, but from my understanding, I don't think it ever got released. So it's just the demo stuff that got put out and like a silly little video.
So all we have is the 3 songs off Archive, and then the Distance, which
Yeah.
I love. The Distance, I love that song.
Oh, thanks, man. That was a cool one. Yeah. I kind of came up with a guitar lick just doing like a finger exercise. And then the singer was just like, that sounds cool. And we kind of came together and wrote that. And it was cool. It was a cool break too for me, just because like from 15 to 24, I did nothing but ska punk. And don't get me wrong, I'll always love ska punk. It'll always have a place in my heart. But sometimes you need to take a step back and try to do something different to kind of just stay sane and like keep your love for something. Like if you do it too much, I find it gets, for me anyways, I was starting to get kind of sick of it, and I felt that, and I was like, I don't want to lose my love for this, so I need to take a step away. So being able to do a band that wasn't in that genre was refreshing. You know what I mean? It was cool to do that and be part of that.
Yeah, and you always got to appreciate something different. I mean, maybe that's why every Mr. Bungle album sounds completely fucking different.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's fun to do different things. Like variety, it really is the spice of life. You know what I mean? So it's cool to bounce around and do different things for sure. Yeah.
Word.
With the madness kind of mental, completely upbred, such a motherfucking nature. See through this veil and the taste of blood you're made of. Digits on your fingers, missing everything you fake there. Embrace hatred in the morning with your paper. See through the afternoon and man it moronic, methodically misogynist amounts of fees and good hoarding. Demonstrating dealing dealings, using it started, motherfucker.
Speaking of different things, let's get into Body Heist. You released that EP, another 4 songs. That shit was fucking awesome.
Cheers, man. I'm glad you liked that. That was another fun one to be part of. I like that I've been able to be in a bunch of little things and put out a bunch of little albums, because it has been, even if it's ska punk, it's different. So how that came to be, pretty much after Jaws, I was deciding I wanted to take a break altogether from music, and especially ska punk. But my friends had been starting this band. Zach, who was originally in my first band from Parts Unknown, and then Neil, who was in Ghetto Blaster. They were doing it, and then the drummer from No Equal, Simon, was doing drums for that project as well. And then our buddy CJ was doing vocals, and they had another guitar player at the time who was in Johnny, who was in Crack Squad, but he ended up leaving. I don't know the full details of what happened. But so then they started asking me, they're like, hey man, do you want to, like, we got some songs, we just need a bit of like arrangement or like lead parts, and we want your vibe on it. Like, would you come join the band? And I told them no. I was like, no, man, I'm taking a break. I'm not really interested. Like, what you guys are doing is super cool. I just I need just a break. And then I think a week or two later, I went down with my buddy Tommy, the singer of Broken Culture, and Justin, who also plays in Stupid Stupid Henchmen. We went down to New York to see the Choking Victim reunion show. And they did two shows in one day. They did one in Tompkins Square Park and then another at a venue. But there's something about being in it and down there that weekend and watching them play in Tompkins Square Park, like where I'd watched videos from when I was like fucking 15, 16, you know what I mean? I was just like, it just hit me. I was just like, oh man, like I love this shit. Like I love this shit, you know what I mean? So I got back on the Sunday. So like literally my inbox on Facebook was each one of them like in a row asking me to join. And I was just like, all right, I'm in. I'm in. Like, well, after watching Choking Victim, I was like, all right, yeah, no, I'm not done with this yet. You know what I mean? So yeah, I joined in, and a lot of those songs they already had, like they were already pretty much written. They're really good songs too. And I just came in and kind of added a little bit of guitar layers, and I think maybe a little bit of rearranging in parts, but not much. They're all good musicians and they're really good at writing. So there wasn't much that needed to be done. So then we did that EP, Party of the Year, which was also recorded by Droid from the Filthy Rads, and yeah, and then we did that and we released it. And I don't know if we did physical copies or not. I don't think we did. I think it was just online. And then we did like a little mini tour with a few dates with Union Jack, and there was yeah, I fucking love Union Jack, man. They're not only a good band, but just fucking the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Like they're just phenomenal human beings. But yeah, and then we got to do a show with them and Stupid Stupid Henchmen in Montreal. So it was really fucking cool. Really, really fun show. And then yeah, so we did that. We finished that tour. Then we had some life stuff happen. Unfortunately, around that time was when our good friend JV Mongrel passed. And it was kind of like long and drawn out, unfortunately. And our singer, whose name was Corey CJ, was like his best friend, like his best friend. So it was hitting us all pretty hard, but especially him. And so about a month after JV Mongrel passed away, CJ would go out to BC in Canada and do like tree planting and stuff on the mountains. And just like a freak accident, he was just living life how he always did, a silly, crazy motherfucker. And he was like on top of a car coming down the mountain, from what I remember being told. And I think it hit something or whatever, and he just went flying and hit a tree and died on impact. So we found that out while we were like writing the next EP. We were like trying to write stuff while he was gone, and we got the call that he'd passed away. And that kind of just, we didn't really feel that it would be right to continue it without him. We were going to do like a benefit show with somebody else on vocals, but then that didn't even really feel right. So that kind of, that was why that was such a short period of time, because I think that band could have pumped out another album or two very easily. But yeah, unfortunately, yeah, he passed, and that was kind of the end of that. But that makes that album that much more special to me anyways, getting to be part of that with him and like have that there. It's a piece of history, and like that's going to be there after I go, after we all go, you know what I mean? So
Oh
I
yeah.
really, that's one album out of my catalog that I really cherish and appreciate that I got to be part of that. Yeah.
And like I said, it's a fucking great EP. Great EP.
Thanks, man.
That's sad to hear. That's sad to hear. And then you went on to an emo band, a screamo band. Faults. Faults. Tell me about
Yeah.
tell me about your faults.
Uh, I don't know if we have enough time. um yeah, with Faults, that was like right after I had just moved to Montreal because after CJ passed and JB Mongrel Jose passed within like a month span, we were all just grieving really hard, and some of us were handling it better and handling it worse. I wasn't doing too well with it in terms of just like drugs and trying to numb myself down. I felt like if I'd stayed where I was going to die. So I talked to Tommy from Broken Culture, and I was like, "Listen, man, I need to get out of here. I just need a fresh start. I just need to get away." And he was like, "Just come out to Montreal. You can sleep on our couch until you get started. Yada yada yada." Always a really good. Him and his wife have always been really really good friends to me. So I went out there, and I'd already been talking with the guys, a couple of the guys from Faults, for since Jaws basically, because we'd played a show with a couple of them in a different band in Toronto. They came down, and we played one on tour with them in Montreal. So Germ and Sam are their names, and we've been wanting to do a band for a while. Just with distance, obviously, it didn't work. So as soon as I got in Montreal, I hit them up. I'm like, "Yo, I'm fucking here now." They're like, "You're actually living here?" I'm like, "Yeah," because I've been talking about moving there for years, and it became a running joke. So nobody nobody really believed that I'd actually do it. So I sent a picture of me like in Montreal. He's like, "Fuck, okay, let's do something." He's like, "We're actually starting something right now, but like we already have two guitar players." I'm like, "I'll play bass." He's like, "Sweet, all right, so let's try something out then." Because originally we wanted to do guitar together. But yeah, it was really really cool. Really cool experience. The drummer was still pretty. I don't know if he was that new, but he was newish, and the singer was a tattoo artist. It's his first band ever. He'd never done a band prior to that. Um, so it was a cool experience to be part of. And it was just again, it was nice to do something that wasn't ska punk for the time being. It was a little different. It kind of made me think more about what I was playing. Not to say that what I was playing in ska punk was easy or whatever. It was just I've been doing it for so long, it became like almost second nature to like it was very easy to write that style. So to switch it up and write something that I'm not used to playing or really listening to that much, it really made me have to sit down and like think about what I was doing. But you can even hear it on that record, like playing the bass on that record. There's a lot of ska punk bass element in that album because it's all I really knew at the time. But yeah, no, it was fun. We had Germ recorded it in our jam space because he went to school for audio and he records a lot of bands out in Montreal. Very cool dude. Um, and yeah, and then we released that. And for a lot of them, it was kind of like a side project because the two guys had like a bigger band going on at the time, and we just struggled to actually be able to start playing shows and like all of us be able to have the same time to do so. So we all came to the conclusion that it was like, all right, well, if we're not going to be doing shows, then maybe we should just stop kind of thing. So it was like a one and done kind of thing again. Like we just put out the album and then we all were like, all right, we're good. You know what I mean? We're all still friends and like we'll all still talk together all the time. But yeah, it was just like a one and done album.
Word,
He knows his
word.
nose would never turn down from a challenge. His nose it grows when he's tweaking on a mad binge. She knows he shows a better side behind his eyes. Pain of magnitude undefined by human nature's by designs. Our friends in low places, understatements, creative brain cases, self-medicating, contemplating suicide with open eyes and minds racing. Not trying to chase another day, trying to chase what's never seen.
Let's see. You didn't really do anything in 2019, but then the pandemic happened and you became real fucking busy.
Yeah. Fucking pandemic, man. It's still crazy to think about that shit, to be honest.
It blows my mind that it was fucking 4 years ago already.
Oh, it's crazy to me, man. Like the way my brain works is like, oh yeah, 2017. That was like what, 3 years 3 years ago. Like my sense of time is completely fucked because of it. Like, oh, 4 years.
So let's get into all the fucking shit you did during the pandemic. What was the first thing you rolled out? Was it that Moves EP?
I think that was right before the pandemic hit.
It was released in
We
April of 2020, and that was when shit was going down.
yeah, we had recorded it in 2019 because I had moved back from Montreal in 2019. And I hit up my Andy, who is the drummer of FPU and in Ghetto Blaster and all that shit, and we had done some hip hop that's out there somewhere on hard drives, but it's not really released. But it is out there. And I just hit him up and I was like, hey man, do you want to do like a hip hop record together? Because I'd been learning how to kind of make beats a little bit when I was in Montreal, and he already kind of knew how to. He was working on that as well. And yeah, we just hung out, and it was kind of like a party EP. I was still drinking and doing drugs at that time, so we were just fucking getting fucked up and writing hip hop and just trying to have a good time. So that's what that album kind of, the time that it came out of, was just us being like, yeah, let's just fucking just do a hip hop EP. We never really put that out before. So it was fun to be part of. I wish I had the experience and knowledge I have now about recording and mixing, that I could go back and kind of make the quality of it sound better, but it is what it is. Sometimes, you know, you have to live and learn and push it out and kind of like allow that to be what it is on your journey of improvement, kind of in that aspect.
Yeah, I feel
It was fun, super fun.
I feel the same way about some of my early interviews. Like,
It's how it goes, man. It's anything in life, right? Like you start something that you don't have a lot of experience doing, and the more you do it and the more dedicated you are, you're just going to naturally get better at it. You know what I mean? And sometimes you can't see your growth because you're with yourself all the time. But like for you, for instance, you can go back to your first interviews and kind of see like, oh, okay, yeah, like it's becoming more natural and calming, and I'm able to do this like almost second nature kind of thing. Right?
yeah. A lot less nervous, right? And plus, I was putting intros before all of my videos until this year, and it's like reflecting back upon it, I wish I wouldn't have put all those in there and just like wrote something out like I do now, because
Yeah.
I you can see how awkward I am when it's just me in front of a camera. Like if it's somebody else in front of a camera, like we were talking back and forth, there's banter, right?
Yeah, you
But
have
when it's
something
just
to go
me,
off of.
yeah, when it's just me and I was trying to do these introductions, I was like, well, now I'm super awkward, you know? So I cut that shit out, and it's working a lot better now.
Nice. Well, I'm happy that it's going well for you, man. The guys I said, I've checked out a lot of the interviews, and they're really cool. It's just cool that you're doing something like this. It's what I like about the community, is that there are people that care so much about it that they just want to share it all with other people. You know what I mean?
Straight cans of death. Straight cans of death. Straight cans of death. Straight cans of death. You better watch your step. You better watch your step. You better watch your step. You better watch your step.
Yeah, it moves. That was great. And then it drops, and then the fucking everyone goes into lockdown.
Yeah. That was something, man. We actually we had a Ghetto Blaster reunion show lined up. We were gonna do, yeah. So it was gonna be on my birthday of 2020, so May 2nd of 2020, and we brought almost like the old gang back for the most part. And we had the venue booked. We had pre-sale tickets were already sold out. Like everything was ready to go. And then we got the call on March like 13th that they were locking down. And then by I think mid-April, we realized that it wasn't going to happen. So we had to refund everyone's tickets and whatnot. But fuck, man, that would have been a fun time. That would have been a really fun show. Yeah.
Don't rule it out. There's still the future.
You never know, man. That's the thing is, I always say certain things, but like you really never really know. So as long as we're all still breathing, there's
So it's quick to draw. It's sharp like a blade. We'll cut shit like a chainsaw. Get blood by the pitcher until we feel drunk. Grind your fucking bones till he's my fucking blood. Snap back, crackle pop. Motherfuck the cops, always staying on my toes when I walk the block. In the store, I bring my own discount. I'm sick of paying money to suck on my
Yeah, let's talk about no cash gasoline. That was fucking. I saw that when that video dropped. That shit was fucking awesome. That cover you did.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. That was really fucking fun to be a part of. I was really happy that it was my buddy Chris Forrest, who has Incorrect Thoughts. He was doing like kind of I guess pandemic covers or pandemic songs where he was trying to get it was going around a lot, right? Where different artists would do a song together remotely. So he was like, hey man, like I got this going. I'm going to be on bass. I got Chet in. And as soon as you say Chet's in on something, I don't really even need to hear the rest. Like I'm already on board, man. It's like, let's go. But he's like, yeah, we're gonna do a cover of Gasoline. Like, do you want to play guitar for that? And like, you have more of a hip hop background, so like Chet can do the main vocals. You can kind of do, it can be like a back and forth thing. I was just like, fuck that. I can't say yes hard enough to this. You know what I mean? So yeah, so we got to it, and I just like recorded all my tracks by myself up in my room, and I recorded vocals, and we had our buddy Justin, who's done a lot of mixing and recording for a lot of bands, did the mix for that. And then I just borrowed a video camera off of my good friend Joe Cash, who I don't know if you know his music or not, but I highly suggest checking him out. He's a really fucking good artist, just a good person. But yeah, he lent me his camera, so I was able to kind of film myself, and like that felt so weird to me, like just like, you know how you were saying doing like the intros by yourself kind of thing. Like for me to kind of go off of that by myself in a room with no direction, I was just like, fuck, this is awkward. This is really awkward. So it took me like a little bit to kind of feel comfortable enough to like actually get some takes that were worthy of sending off. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
It turned out pretty sick. It was fucking. That was a great cover. That was
Oh,
a
I
great
love it,
cover.
man.
And
Chet absolutely killed it on the vocals too, man.
oh
Like he
yeah,
just
Don't ask any questions, just fall in line. You can't see it now, but the storm's still coming. I don't think I'll ever see it stop. I don't think we're ready for this mess coming down, but I won't lose my head again. I won't lose my head.
and Joe Cash is on your next release, Resurrection, with Chet on that
yeah,
third track.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, man.
So
Um,
am I skipping anything if I jump straight to that? No, I'm not. I'm not.
oh, I don't think
Let's
so.
talk about Resurrection.
Sure. Um, that was an album I started when the pandemic happened. I started taking a trip down memory lane and going through old hard drives because I always demoed out my songs from a young age. Not to say that they were good quality, but just so I wouldn't forget riffs or ideas and stuff like that. So, I just decided to open up an old hard drive and I started going through and I was like listening to a couple ideas I had. They were all kind of like in a Ghetto Blaster demos folder, like shit I was working on for the album after Tales from Twisted Minds. And a couple of them I was just like, fuck, man, these deserve to be songs. So I started working on that. I had like 3 songs going, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna write some new shit. So I wrote a couple of new songs too. So it became like a half old thing, half new thing. And at the time, I didn't have a bass. So I was like, you know what? I'd already decided that I wanted to get a bunch of features because I just wanted it to be one of those old albums that we were talking about where everybody, there's not one song that doesn't have a feature. So I decided to, with that, each song's going to have a different bass player. So like the band, whoever, they're going to play bass on that too. So it's a little more interactive. So that was really fun to do. It was hard to get going just because there were so many moving parts to it and so many different people involved. So to try and like wrangle it all in to get done on a certain timeline was definitely challenging, but 100% worth it. Like to just have that many friends be part of something was truly really special to me, that many people that I know wanted to be part of that. So yeah, that was super fun to do. It took a long time to come out, unfortunately, because Justin, who was mixing it, he just had there's a lot of life shit happening at that time, and he's just honest with me. He's like, "Man, I'm not gonna be able to mix this for a while, so I don't know if you want to go to someone else and get it out." I was like, "Not really. I mean, I trust you." And when you trust somebody with like your music to make it sound the way you want it to sound, it's really hard to get away from that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just find somebody random, and I just love what he does and the way he approaches music and the way he hears music is just yeah, he's really good at what he does. So I waited out on that. So it took a while to come out, but once it did come out, yeah, I decided, I'm just gonna put it up for free. Everyone can just check it out, download it, and yeah. And so like Illogic for me has always been like a passion project. It's like stuff that I'm gonna do because I'm never not gonna do music. Like it's always gonna be part of my life. But I don't really foresee that as something that's going to be like a huge investment in terms of like getting a band together to play shows and tour and like, the whole thing of like, network and that whole life of being in a band. I've done that a few times and I'm just kind of over it. Like I don't have the energy or the time to do that as much. I like kind of doing my own thing and just recording some good tunes and putting them out, and that's it. And so that'll always be a thing. I'm actually working on a new album right now for that. It's probably going to be another EP. I just find EPs are more the way to go these days. As you were saying earlier with Buddy from Get Dead. So I'm just working on that right now. I just getting some demos and some pre-pros ready to go. So I'm hoping that I start recording that hopefully in the summer, but you never know how things can go with that stuff. You can always get pushed back and stuff, but yeah, a couple features will be on that one too. So keep your ear to the ground.
Awesome. Well, shit, I'll have my bass by summer. Maybe I should
Oh yeah, dude, hit me up. Let me know.
fucking out. Cover everything. I think we covered everything.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, the only thing I have going on right now, other than that, is me and Wefton are working on an album.
I was about to ask about that. That was the only thing that's not on my list. He said that you guys said online the other day that you guys were working on something and had several ideas already kicking back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah. I reached out to him, I want to say it was a few months ago, but I've always really liked his solo stuff. And I like that sorry, I shouldn't have eaten a pizza before the interview. I keep getting a little bit of heartburn. That's how I know I'm 34. But yeah, so I've always liked his solo stuff, and I've liked him when he was in Serpents, and he's a good musician. He's good at what he does, and he's a good person. But I like that within the ska punk, you can hear that there's like a metal background and like a experimental background and a little alternative. And I like that. I listen to a lot of that these days. So when I hit him up, I was like, hey man, like I've always liked your shit. Do you want to maybe we can get together? Well, not get together, but we can get together online, remote stuff and talk about maybe doing some songs together, like, or just a collab, a song or something. And he was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like I used to listen to Ghetto Blaster and like I'm totally down. So life got busy for us. So we weren't really able to sit down and make it happen for a while. And he's so busy. He's got so much on the go all the time. Like he's such a busy dude with music and so talented to spread it all out.
Besides for the Chemical Imbalance and the End Times, and then he has the Song of the Month that he puts out all the time.
Exactly. That's crazy in itself. Just to put out a song every month is it's a good practice and a good discipline, because there's months where you're going to be like, I don't fucking want to do this, but he commits to it and he does it. So I have a lot of respect for him for that, because that not everyone could do that for sure. But yeah, so we talked, I think like maybe a month or so ago, and we had a phone call and we're just like, hey man, like this doesn't have to be a pressure based thing. Like let's just have fun with it, like let's you're busy, I'm busy, whatever. We'll try to make a day of the week where we can get online and talk a bit. But if it doesn't happen, we'll just, we'll move on and plan for another day. So it's not stressful. It's supposed to be what music is supposed to be about, which is like having a good time, you know what I mean? And fun. So we finally agreed to that. And then we've been doing like kind of once every 2 weeks ish, we'll get on and like show each other ideas. And one of the big things, which I mean, some people aren't going to like this, but that's fine. We both decided that there's going to be no ska at all. Yeah. So we both wanted to do another project without any ska, and like I have Illogic, so that's where my ska punk goes to. So I have that on lock already. I feel like if I was going to write anything that was ska punk, it would just end up sounding like something that should be on an Illogic record. So the fact that we're doing that is cool, and it has me again like in faults really thinking about what I want to play and what I'm writing. And he has some really dope ideas and we've been going off. So yeah, I showed him a couple ideas. He really enjoyed them, and he showed me a couple ideas and I fucking loved them. So I think we're at, I think he said like around 7. So like maybe between 5 and 7, like ideas, not fully finished, but like really, really good starts on stuff. So I think we're going to start there and see how it goes. And then, yeah, if more songs come to be, that's awesome. But if not, I have a feeling and I think the EP will be fun to do. I just by talking with him, I think it's going to be a good time. Then that might start something that down the road we can do some more albums together and shit. And that's the cool thing about the world these days is you don't really have to be in the same city or in the same room or anything to do music with somebody. And like the pandemic kind of proved that to people.
Yeah, opened
Right?
up all our eyes.
Exactly. Yeah. So kind of one of the
So
positives
much,
out of it, but
so much good music came out of that time frame.
oh yeah, just so much, dude. It's incredible. I can't even keep up with all of it. There's still a bunch of shit out there that came out during it that I'm still finding now. I'm just like, yo, this is fucking sick. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm super excited for this. As I said, I've always respected him. He's a good musician, and it's nice to do something that's challenging and experimental, and just not really giving a fuck what people think of it. You know what I mean? Because like sometimes you get caught up in that. You try your best not to. But sometimes you're like, oh, like what are people gonna think of this or that, or what are the people that actually like my music? Are they gonna not? And we both just said, you know what, fuck it. You know, like obviously we respect all the people that listen to each of our music, but you have to write music for you at the end of the day. So if you're not writing for you, then what the fuck are you really writing for? You know what I mean? So sometimes you got to try things out and do some things that are kind of out of left field. But that to me is kind of the more exciting part about it, is that it's really some shit that I've never done before. So it's exciting. I'm really excited to finally get it out there too for people to check it out.